Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly changed your mind? Not because someone told you to, not because you were convinced, but because something clicked and you suddenly saw it for yourself. That moment is Inception, because the ideas that actually change us are never forced, they're realised. Human beings don't resist truth, they resist being overridden. The moment someone says, here's the answer, you need to change, do this instead, something tightens. Not because the idea is wrong, but because autonomy has been threatened. There's a reason this quote rings so true. Consider how hard it is to change yourself, and you'll understand what little chance you have in trying to change others. Jacob M. Broad. We struggle to change even when we want to. So imagine how the mind reacts when change is imposed from the outside. In Inception, the idea couldn't be inserted. It had to feel self-generated, because the subconscious protects what it creates. An idea you arrive at becomes personal, defended, acted upon. An idea imposed becomes temporary. This isn't movie logic, it's human psychology. Your brain rewards insight with dopamine, but only when it feels earned. That's why discoveries feel exciting, realizations feel powerful, being told feels flat. Ownership creates commitment. Without it, nothing really sticks. Control says, do this. Influence says, what do you think happens if? ? Control creates compliance. Influence creates belief. That's why the greatest influence of thought never feel like they're influencing you at all. Which brings us back to Socrates, because Socrates didn't lecture, he questioned. He walked through Athens asking people to explain their beliefs, and then gently exposed the cracks. Not to humiliate them, but to wake them up. The Socratic method wasn't about answers, it was about self-examination. Because Socrates understood something timeless. If the conclusion doesn't come from within, it will never become part of who you are. That's why he was so threatening. He wasn't giving people new beliefs, he was taking away borrowed ones. Socrates didn't tell people what to think. He made them realise they didn't actually know why they thought what they thought. And that's dangerous. Because once certainty collapses, authority loses its grip. An awakened mind doesn't submit easily. That's why he wasn't punished for answers. He was punished for creating autonomy. That's why great storytellers don't preach. They don't explain the moral. They create a situation and let your mind complete the meaning. Your brain hates unresolved tension, so it resolves it itself. And once it's done, the insight feels like yours. That's Inception. Now think about even therapy. A good therapist doesn't tell you what you should do. They don't say, leave the relationship, confront your parents, make this decision. They ask, well, how does that make you feel? What pattern do you notice? What do you think needs to change? And why? Because, well, telling you the answer just wouldn't work. The breakthrough only happens when you say it out loud yourself. The same is true for counselling, and the same is true in coaching. The professional's role isn't to decide for you, it's to guide you to the decision you already know you need to make. Once the decision feels like yours, action follows naturally, no force required. Today, opinions are everywhere. Certainty is sold cheaply, but borrowed thinking creates fragile identity. Socrates warned us about this. The unexamined life is not worth living. Not because it lacks morality, but because it lacks freedom. A mind that doesn't examine itself is easy to control. Most people try and change themselves through pressure, I should be better. I must be disciplined. I need motivation. That's control. Real change comes from inquiry. Asking questions like this. Well, why do I keep repeating this? What am I avoiding? What belief is this protecting? When insight emerges, behavior changes without force. The strongest influence respects autonomy, creates awareness, and leaves no fingerprints. People walk away thinking, well, I don't know why, but this suddenly feels obvious. That's not manipulation, that's mastery. So if you want to change minds, don't instruct. If you want to lead, ask better questions. If you want to change yourself, stop forcing and start examining. Because the most powerful ideas are never planted, they are realised. And once an idea feels like it came from you, it becomes unshakable. If you like this episode, comment, follow, subscribe, and just a quick shout out to our sponsors. Strong Coffee Company, protein-packed coffees for energy and clarity. Use code Vancrux1 for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com. And then there's More Labs, clinically proven hydration and recovery drinks. Use code Vancrux1 for 25% off at morelabs.com. And finally, liquor gummies, electrolytes and vitamins for hangover prevention. Use code Vancrux1 for 20% off at liquor.com. That's liquure.com.